And I think part of that is because what we've been led to believe from advertisement, marketing, the supplements are overrated, that you should be focusing on. So I think supplements are good to use as an extra tool. Protein shakes, or we want to think of protein bars. A third one would be vitamin D. Supplementing with vitamin D. Going like, that's the only thing that gets me to sleep. When that pre-workout is useless. Caffeine, bro. So, energy drink, coffee. Before you go any further, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone else who could really benefit from these episodes. So, as you saw in the introduction, this is on supplements. This is something that a lot of people get all fixated on. All like wanting to try and get my hands on the steering wheel, not talk with them. But everyone wants to consider how they think in supplements are super important. I think part of that is because what we've been led to believe from advertisement, marketing, which is just simply not the case. Unfortunately, like I've said before, the fitness industry, we're really good at just having a lot of misinformation. The supplements are overrated. They are beneficial. There are definitely ones that are more useful than others. But they're not going to move the needle but so much. Sometimes some of the experiences that people will have is just a placebo effect. What that means is that what you believe to be helping, you wind up experiencing because you heard, like you were kind of whatever you want to think of. You were convinced that this item is going to make such a big impact, and you're going to experience this, and then you wind up experiencing these like effects, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's working so well. And then what reality is it's a placebo effect. They've actually done studies. I'll use one that was a study with steroids, actually, interesting enough. And it was with, I believe they took powerlifters, I believe. So powerlifting being the sport where individuals are going to compete for as strong as they can be at the squat, bench, and deadlift. And I believe half the group were given placebo pills. They weren't told that they were getting placebo pills. Everybody just thought they were getting steroids. So half was given placebo, half was given actual steroids. And of course, all like to a certain level, so they could keep this at a placebo. Keep this at a controlled study. And the part that showed is that the individuals are given the placebo pill, or the just non-steroid pill, had significant strength gains as well, because they believed they were taking steroids. Of course, they were told afterwards and everything, but it just shows that the mental aspect can make a big difference. I'm saying that just to drive home that a lot of times it's not going to move the needle a ton. It's kind of what I would describe as if you're a lifter and you use knee sleeves for a squat. At that little percentage, that's pretty much the percentage. It's like going to help you out, or less than 10% of an increase of a benefit. Not saying it's not useful, but don't fixate on that when you have all the rest of 90+% that you should be focusing on. So I think supplements are good to use as an extra tool, as an addition to already doing the other thing. So I want to focus first on explaining what you want to think about really tuning into if you're trying, before you even add any supplements. And then we'll get to supplements I'd highly recommend for most people. So first, kind of go back to the 4 things that I've talked about. Probably some of you are getting tired of me saying the same thing repeatedly over and over again, but it really matters. So if your sleep is on point, or at least consistently trying to make sleep on point, you're trying to manage your stress, you're pretty much on point with that 80-20 aspect, at least for your diet, and you're really focusing on staying consistent with that mentality with your diet, and you're also getting consistent and regular exercise, especially with that strength training. If you're doing all those factors, then we can consider the supplements. So with supplements, what are some of the big ones that we actually could help and be useful, and what are some of the ones that may be useful potentially? And then of course there's so many supplements, so I'm not going to exhaust this list. But let's talk specifically. I'll name them off, and then in another video probably break down certain ones. So one supplement that really, I mean, see, if you want to use supplement as the word, more so just supplementing your protein intake with this, is protein powder, protein shakes, or we want to think of protein bars. That is definitely something I think can be very useful for most individuals, pending several things. So one is, if you are doing the best you can, like I said, with the diet, you're trying to hit your protein targets, you're just a little bit off, that could be helpful to get you there. You shouldn't rely on it. It shouldn't be like, don't do what I did as a teenager. Don't try to live off of a fluid diet with your protein intake for liquids. Not the way to go. Whole foods would be much better. And then, of course, if you're, I kind of push into this line here of, if you're eating a vegan diet, potentially even vegetarian diet, then most definitely I would suggest probably adding a supplementation of some form of protein powder or protein shake. It would be better to go that direction than to go with a protein bar. There's a lot of potential error with protein bars just because of how protein bars are made, and I'll get into that a little bit more when I talk specifically about certain supplements. But the protein intake, supplementing it is useful if you're not able to hit your targets within the whole foods. Another one that would be definitely recommended for majority of people would be creatine. It has tons of research that has been done on it, proving how useful and beneficial it is, proving how there's not really negative side effects, unlike there's misinformation that tries to proclaim this different problems with it. And with creatine, the key, I'm just going to throw it out there just in case you go and just try to buy it, because everybody's just, oh, you said these supplements, let's go do it now. So protein powder, protein shakes, creatine. Creatine would be, the useful one would be a creatine monohydrate. Dive into specifics when I talk specifically on creatine. Creatine monohydrate, it's been proven to be useful for helping improve with strength gains, muscle gain, as well as cognitive benefits as well. So definitely a very useful supplement. And it's not going to make you go from benching 185 to 225 within a month. It's not like it's going to have that kind of effect. But it is a very helpful, it's a compounding type of supplement. What I mean is, the more you're taking it over a period of time, not necessarily in heavy dose in a day, but more consistent you take it, your body is going to do much better with it, and it's going to be able to just handle various different things much better, which I'll dive into deeper in another video. A third one would be vitamin D. Supplementing with vitamin D, because vitamin D is a lot of times low with most people. especially people who live north of the equator, definitely closer to, if you're in like the Carolinas and above, and if you're in the US, or if you're like in Germany and above, like in Europe, you're in Russia, a lot of these places that you don't get out in the sun as often, potentially also the weather dependent of your climate. If you're definitely indoors job, you don't get natural sunlight or limited sunlight, and depending on your diet, based on again where you live and everything, you are probably going to be low, because it has been shown a lot of people are low in vitamin D. So supplementing vitamin D would definitely be a useful tool for most people. Something that is a questionable tool, like a potential chance, but will be individualized, kind of from there, would be like vitamin B, magnesium, potassium, these things. The best bet with a lot of these would be, again, if you can get it in your diet, be much better. But with those specific ones that I just named, iron would be another one, zinc would be another one, copper, these are ones that you would need to, you want to try to find out if you're specifically individually low or not low, and then go from there. Getting that individual variance is definitely going to be key, hence why I said nutrition is definitely a little bit more diverse depending on the individual. So finding out if you are actually low or not by getting blood work done, by getting, you can do like a hair test to find out also where like some of the minerals are at, if you're excreting too much of it through your scalp. So there's different tests you can find out to see whether or not you need to go on those specifically to supplement. Again, I go back to, it'd be best if you can get it in your diet, preferred, depending on where you live, and the food source that you have will depend also, so potentially you would need a supplement. And of course there's tons of them that really like are overly overrated or just unnecessary. For most people, there are of course going to be times where there's going to be some that you could benefit from. I'll just name one that is unfortunately something that is promoted but overrated on taking, which would be melatonin for sleep. So you're going like, well, that's the only thing that gets me to sleep. So depends on the dosage, and most of the time it's because you're not having a healthy environment around sleep, or you're also lacking in other nutrients, hence why your sleep is not as effective. If you're supplementing with melatonin though, depending on the dosage, typically above the, if it's anything above 1, it's 1 gram, brains right now, I'm trying to remember if it's 1 gram or 1 milligram, but if it's above 1, you're not really going to need to do that. Not really need to use it as a supplement, because it's just going to impede. It will start initially being good, but then your body will adapt and go, okay, I don't need to really produce this naturally. I can just kind of base off of this supplement and I'll be good. So it can definitely, it would pretty much think of, it helps you get sleep, and then you still stay within light sleep, and you don't ever get into your core deep sleep. And also you wake up more often, you start seeing that negative effect on your sleep. So melatonin, definitely, it would be one if I were to use an example as something that is overrated and normally not necessary for someone. So with that, be careful when someone tries pushing certain products. Like, for example, another one that is like heavily pushed for people who work out a lot would be like pre-workout. Reality is, yeah, could you find a pre-workout? I'm about to tick some people off. I'm about to tell them that pre-workout is useless. Most of the time, most of the ingredients, if you look them up, they're unnecessary, don't really do anything other than give you a certain sensation through your skin to get you to feel like it's doing something, less actually beneficial to helping boost or give that focus. Honestly, all you really need is the caffeine. And depending on the individual, also will depend on whether or not that's actually helpful. So, what am I saying? Most pre-workouts, pretty much, they're all overrated. Most people don't really need that. Again, stick to the basic, man. Caffeine, bro. So, energy drink, coffee. If you need a boost, get caffeine. That's all you gotta do. Later, y'all.